Hello, everybody. We have added a fourth member to our ongoing crew of podcasters.
A new challenger has
The
entered.
Roundabout.
It's Bradley,
Don't give it up, Bradley.
which is our first segment. Thank you.
That's the
Finally,
name of the segment.
a good segue. Finally, Bradley, why don't you talk to us about Skypeia?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard of this One Piece thing. We're gonna be talking about it. Specifically, Volume 28, starting with Chapter 256. Guys,
Only doing volume 28.
Yes.
yeah, this one was a doozy. Holy
Okay.
shit!
Was it
A lot of
Bradley?
quickies.
Yes, that's the first thing, Willer.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we get to talk about.
So yeah, the first thing we see in this entire volume is our chapter cover story, and former King Wapple has invented Wapo metal, and the second I saw this, I was instantly like, okay, well now we're gonna see this in the main story, and it's gonna be like critically important, and it's gonna be everywhere, and I'm very excited.
Yeah,
That
it's the arc after
That's
this.
not
One.
important. What is important is that Willer and I have a story about this cover page.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do. Go, Joe.
So if you look at Wapple here, and he has his arm sticking out, his right arm sticking out.
Yeah,
When I first looked at this page, I thought that his entirety of his arm, and Oda forgot to draw the hand to his arm.
And
yeah,
then,
me too.
And then Joe showed me, and I was like, Joe, you're dumb. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, it's totally not there. And then we just talked about it for a long time until we realized
Oh, I see.
that the arm is just behind, scratching the back of his head.
That did look really weird for a minute.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
I remember like freaking out. I was like, Willer, what the fuck? How does this happen? Because there's like even an effect right by that arm. So like your attention is supposed to be drawn to the end of that point there to see the elbow. And I was just like, how could he forget to draw a hand there? Like why?
Well, there you go. That's what we got. All right, Bradley, hit us with your sticky notes.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
I'm sure that Wapple will retain this humility and his humbleness as we go on.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
Willer, you realize that has to be our thumbnail for this, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. Zoom in on the arm though, not all of Wapple, just
I
the arm.
mean, I like our volume pages because they're colorful and pretty, but all right. We'll zoom into an arm.
So my first sticky today is in this first chapter, when everyone's kind of talking to the kami, and he's kind of asking them to guess how the battles today are going to go. And a lot of them can't really guess. Someone's like, fuck it, I don't know, 20 people will be left at the end of it. And he's like, I'm gonna tell you this right now. At the end of the day, there's gonna be 5 people left standing. And a really cool thing about One Piece is that, and we've kind of talked about it before, you can just kind of take things at their word in One Piece. Like
Word of God, maybe.
yeah, like obviously I don't know for a fact that there's going to be 5 people left at the end of this, but because he says it, I'm like, okay, there's going to be 5 people left standing at the end of it. Those 5 people might not be the same people that he thinks it'll be, but I mean,
I think also like even if you take the story element out of like the plot armor of our crew essentially out of this whole scenario and everything, and you were just to look at I think in here if you were just process it normally, you can even say that Kami at this point is just going to do a mass culling of everything on this island.
oh yeah,
Mars.
which I believe, I could believe it.
Yeah, because it's like he's God. He's going to make it happen regardless of whether or not you think it's going, whether or not it actually comes true. It might come down to like he comes down and kills all of his vassals die, and there are just 6 Sandonians left, and then he kills 2 of them. It's like, all right, I was right, and then he goes back to what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, at the very least, what this sets up is dramatic tension for how he's gonna make himself right. Because one way he's so, you can already tell he's so arrogant that it's like if it's 7 or 6, he's gonna fucking freak out. He's gonna make it 5 somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a question. As I was reading this, I got a really bad vibe from this scene where he's just talking to his vassals here.
Yeah.
What was your vibe here? Because, like, I feel so intimidated, but he's having such a good time. Like, he's smiling, he's laughing, and when a guy underestimates, he's not, like, mean about it. But for some reason, I just have a really bad vibe and, like, anxiety over just people talking to Enel.
Yeah, like it's kind of interesting how terrifying he is, despite the fact that we've only ever seen him with a smile on his face. Because there was a moment when he was asking these people to guess, and like the person refused. I was like, I could totally see him just smiting her
Yeah.
for like barely doing anything, which like I said is crazy. Like I don't know why I have that image of him because he's such a jovial guy, but I think Oda does a really good job at making you terrified of this guy.
Yeah, I just wanted to see your thought on it. Speaking of him not always smiling, the only time in the scene that he's not smiling is when he's giving his 5 estimate. He's
I think
dead serious.
I think what kind of brings us, what happens to this tension is that I think there's also just a like an innate like thing within ourselves of like of doom and processing. Like we know like these are people, and if someone is jokingly seriously talking about a person's life and killing, kind of just trigger something in your brain of like, this isn't right, this shouldn't be how we talking about the subject, kind of deal.
I think that kind of nails it with the build up to Eneru, but also like him jokingly speaking about how many people are gonna die today. Yeah, that's.
And it also helps in that regard is that his advisors here aren't like getting in on the joke. Like they're not laughing about it or anything.
Yeah.
They are taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah. Good.
But anyway, Riley, continue.
Onwards.
Yeah, and pretty soon after he makes his prediction, 5 people are left. We see, like, holy shit, like the fighting is starting right now.
Yeah.
Shura, that's the winged guy,
right? The winged vassal.
Yeah, he, like, in the span of like three to 4 pages,
he fucking bites it, man.
He's down. He got destroyed by the reject dial, which we don't know it's called a reject dial at this point, but I was like, holy shit, like, we're not fucking around. We're really doing it.
That was like a big shock to me too when I read this chapter. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think
it's also
like,
cool that they take out Shura, but Wiper looks tired and exhausted. We find out why very shortly.
Yeah, I was just like, holy shit,
that much effort for a single life, quote unquote.
Yeah, because it's like, is he gonna have to do this again? How far will he push himself?
Yeah.
And like, man, like Skypeia is definitely the fastest paced arc in One Piece so far, I think. And we talked about this a little bit last week, where Oda kind of has a sense now of how long a battle against a particular character should take, because like Shura's cool, but we've already gotten to see a cool battle with him against someone who we're closer to, so we really probably didn't need a whole chapter for the reject dial finish.
Yeah, good point.
But it's very cool. And we turn the page and we see Wapple. Wapple's expanding, man.
He's so friendly.
I'm sure he
dog ally here.
I'm sure he'll remember where he came from.
My favorite part of like, so we saw him with that depressing face that was just cracking us up for so long, and last chapter he was kind of confused. Now he's smiling, he's coming back from his slump.
The Wapple we know and love.
Oh yeah.
So this next chapter, we're gonna do a lot of learning about the dials. I think we even learned specifically about like the impact and the reject dial. Yeah. And one sticky I had here, is where Usopp is just like, oh my god, these things are so dangerous. And like the reason I put a sticky here is because pretty much anything we talk about on the Roundabout cast, if it has a theme in common with Worm, I'm usually gonna talk about it because I usually like it. And it's funny because these words they say about the impact dials are almost word for word something they say about powers and Worm in Arc 9. Like Usopp hears about these things, the impact dial, and he sees what it does to Sanji, and he is like baffled that these things aren't manufactured. He's like, how can such a thing exist in nature? Like they're so suited to being weapons. Like he says, they're practically military weapons. How can these be natural? And It's Gan4, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always get the G's fucked up. He is like, that's just the nature of people. He's like, maybe they weren't naturally intended as weapons. He's like, people, there's just always going to be people who are going to find ways to turn anything into a weapon.
Right.
Yeah.
Exploit, turn it on its head.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just kind of saying a lot about maybe, I don't know, just mankind in general.
The nature of combat. This arc is so bloodshed heavy that I feel like this fits right in with mankind's use of anything to kill each other.
Yeah. There's something else to like be said. I kind of want to bring it up to you, Willard, because, or I guess Tyler too, but like there's a flashback much later on.
Woo!
Three individuals and one of them having powers and then making fun of it for him, and that person has to use that power as like their combat capabilities. It reminds me a little bit about what this is, this kind of like overall theme.
And man, like, I don't know, in this moment I kind of realized I've had a lot of stickies on pages where Gan4's talking.
Gan4's pretty good.
Kind of like Joe said last week, like, this is a man, he's seen some shit, and this is a man who's probably at the end of his own personal arc, and I don't know, he has this wisdom to give to the characters but also the reader, and
there's a lot of speech bubbles on these 2 pages. I'm looking at them.
I love them.
Sorry that just came out, like, it just seems very odd comparatively. Like, I've been reading Watchmen, which is nothing but speech bubbles basically. So it just seemed there's a lot of exposition coming from Gan4 whenever he's on screen.
Yeah, I had that exact same thought because, like, I think like an hour or two before I was reading this chapter, we were talking about how much dialogue there is in the Watchmen comic, and then I brought this up. I was like, what is this Watchmen shit right here?
Yeah. Oh no. Welcome. This is modern One Piece. You've reached it.
But it was fun. We're gonna go ahead and move. Like, the rest of this chapter is kind of people beginning to make their moves, like heading to where they're planning on attacking and
what do you think about them having a bazooka?
Yeah.
What's your opinion about them just having a bazooka? Do you just think like, it's whatever, or do you think it's outrageous, or
what do you fucking mean?
Is this the big debate that has been incoming since I started One Piece?
I just think it's strange to have all of everything. This guy just has a bazooka.
No, I like it.
First of all, there's 2 bazookas here. Wiper has one, and Genbu has one. So what's the point here, huh?
How do Native Americans get bazookas?
Well, Joe.
It's the Zuka fruit. I don't know. If you ask to Oda, that's what he would say.
All right, here's what happened. We know that people have made it to Skypeia. One of them had a bazooka. They figured out how to make it.
There you go.
Okay.
Then they put a burning dial in it, and then now they shoot lasers.
That's a Spartan laser.
Guys, I'm very mad they didn't have Smirnoff Ice at the gas station.
Oh yeah.
I'm just drinking this Austin East ciders.
Anyway,
I thought everybody should know that.
So
you should know that.
What's your next sticky note? Luffy going after goats.
Yeah, so we kind of head on to the next chapter, and we this is where everybody is like getting jumped. Luffy gets jumped, Chopper gets jumped, Robin gets jumped by vassals and Shandians and all this kind of stuff. And so one of the 50 Heavenly Warriors actually attacks Robin, and as expected, she pretty much is able to instantly dispatch him just by like sprouting arms and just binding him.
You got to the Robin fight that happens this volume, right?
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to kind of talk about it now since we're seeing her dispatch this guy so easily. I feel like she's really good in combat against certain types of enemies. Like, she's very like anti-personnel, I think, against like other people generally her size. But later, if she's going to be up against, we talked about this before, where they were under attack by like a giant sea monster, and it's like, maybe people like Luffy and Zoro can just knock its lights out. But against a giant sea monster, she generally seems less effective than she is against like a normal person.
Yeah. Notably, in the fight with, I think his name is Yanma, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
She comments on how heavy he is as she's swinging him around.
Mhm.
This shows the weakness of Robin's fruit, is that she can feel what her sprouted things feel, but they're also subject to her own physical strength. So
Yeah.
that's why against smaller anti-personnel, she can do like all her twists and stuff, but she has to get more creative against physically stronger or bigger enemies.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I just kind of wanted to. We don't talk about Robin enough, which we talk about her a lot, but you can't talk about her enough. So
I want to talk about her more.
I just
but
felt the need to do that. Yeah, like the rest of this chapter and a lot of the next one are kind of showing the beginning of these engagements, and we are hopping around a lot between these fights. And the first one that I think we like settled down to really the first one that the story really settles down to show the whole thing is Zoro versus, would you say Brahm? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Braham.
And dude, he's really cool.
Yeah. Just the way he's in my journey to say like a cool positive thing I like about all the action segments. Just the way that Oda animate or draws him skating around and shooting, I think just looks really cool.
Yeah.
Something else that I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Willer, but like whenever Oda has these points when he is jumping between place to place, unless there's a thematic reason or some like basically a thematic reason or everyone's coming to a realization of something at the same time, you only ever jump between things page by page. So you're never going to have a Luffy fight on the same page as a Robin fight. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'll keep my eye out for that.
Yeah,
if it happens.
I realized that while it was like I think during the next saga, the jumping around, and I noticed that when I was reading it is that like if you just go page by page and focus on just the pages, you can and kind of analyze and see like, oh, here's where I am now. Like each page stays in one space, and very rarely like mid page you jump somewhere else.
Yeah.
Unless it happens to be in that same fight, but yeah,
that's good.
It's just I think a great way that Oda is able to like have all these things going at once, but not overly confuse you.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, I'm reading Watchmen, and there are times where like halfway through the page, I'm in a completely different place with a completely different conversation. I'm just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how Oda is able to juggle like so many different scenes in one chapter, and yet you know where the splits are.
Yeah.
And like, so this fight here with Zoro, I really liked it, and it kind of made me realize that Zoro is like, for me at least, pretty much always at his most entertaining during his battles. One, because I think we get to see more of his personality during battles. Like there's a fun moment where
he tries to trick him with the goggles.
Yeah, and that's like a very Usopp thing to do, and it's just like it's really funny. And the other reason I really like him during battles is that I feel like we get most of his character development from his battles. Like when he fought Mr. One, he actually talked a really long time about like what the implications for that battle are for his character.
For sure.
And I think we do that a lot here too, actually.
Yeah.
It's also a very well paced. Like we were saying, the pacing in the fight, like these mini fights are perfect length for what they are.
Yeah. This thing, like when Zoro finally finishes him off, as he's walking away, he kind of says, like, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything against you. When I'm told I'm going to be killed, though, I don't take it lying down. I'll do what it takes to survive." And I wanted to see what you guys think. I think Zoro's changed a lot from when we first met him. Zoro had, whenever we first met him, he had a very ruthless reputation as like this demon swordsman, and I could totally see him just being the kind of like edgy dude who would just end this man. But I think that Zoro isn't here anymore. I think he is able to have this philosophy because of his time with the Straw Hats.
Yeah, definitely. he's mellowed out, but also intensified in certain ways.
Yeah.
Where he sees the value in sparing people, and he sees the value in friendship and all the good things that come with being the Straw Hats. But he's the most driven than ever to win every fight. Zoro promised he would never lose a fight again, and he's really trying to stick to that as much as he can.
I can't wait for a big Zoro fight in the current arc because I think it's going to really test that. But we'll see what happens.
Zoro fights are really good. I can't quite remember whenever he first met Luffy when he was restrained, didn't he like even threaten Luffy?
He did.
He was more, as I recall, he was more shooing him away because he didn't want Luffy to get involved.
I could see it. But man, I don't know, I just read this line, and the fact that this guy was like actively trying to like attack him, even though they obviously had no problems with each other, the fact that he can say like, I don't have anything against you, I just want to get out of here safe, you know?
Man, you know what? You compare this to Whiskey Peak, where he had to fend for himself and fight off 100 people at once.
And like he straight up challenges the entire town.
Yeah. He's a lot softer here, but with the same intensity, like, you attack me, you might die kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And I think, like, the senselessness of war is a theme that's recurring in this arc. And I like how Zoro's able to step away from it, where it's like, this was a senseless fight, but I was fighting for survival, so it had to happen.
That's so good. We don't need this senseless violence.
Yeah, big theme here.
So
it's so good.
To go back into like Oda's writing style, I want to bring like attention. Like I feel like on the Shot crew, Sanji and Zoro are very much foils of each other. I feel like they're big power play makers. They're big combatants, but I feel like their developments are always kind of like opposed to each other. And I think whenever we get character developments for each of those characters, it's always the opposite. Where we only basically get character development for Zoro in his fights. For Sanji, we always get them like whenever it's outside of that, you know.
Always is a strong word either way.
Always a strong word, but like we get a lot more of Sanji outside of those fighting moments. Whereas Zoro, we very much get this is like our big kind of personality. Like we'll look at Zoro, we've had in a long time.
Zoro is like Ryu from Street Fighter, where he finds the truth and the meaning of life through combat a lot of the time.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool.
Man,
Sanji finds it through love. Speaking of Sanji, he's smelling kind of burnt these days.
Wait, no, Chopper.
This is like, this is a really cool way to play with like our emotions, Oda, because we see this fight end and we can kind of sigh and be like, "Whew, we're all right," and then we turn the page, and then holy shit, Tommy Enel just is on the boat, and Sanji is burnt to a crisp. Like that is what a way to end the chapter.
It's also a big shock that he would get involved so early in this.
It is a big shock. I want to talk. I think some attention should be paid to the dialogue next chapter. I think it's really interesting when Eneru talks to Ganfor in any points where they might converse.
Yeah.
Do you think One Piece crew would ever get this dog?
Nah. I mean, they hang out with a bunch of animals, and you don't talk about them.
That's true. Something I also have you keep in mind and keep an eye out for in these cover pages. This is Joe going to his Robin degeneracy at the moment.
Yeah, all right.
Is that where Robin's position relative to the crew, because it's similar in this one as it was in the last one, where she's very much in the back, away from each other, and it's kind of just doing her own thing and not interacting.
She's kind of removed.
Yeah.
Is this the Bloodborne chapter cover?
It's like a friendlier Bloodborne.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Oda Bloodborne. I
think it's really funny that we had this kind of mafia looking attire on them, Willer.
Yeah, very funny.
But since you mentioned kind of like the dialogue in this next chapter, I noticed that. Okay, just to kind of standardize this, do we want to say Enel or Eneru?
I just saw Tyler dancing in the webcam, but he's quiet. I'd see it. We're gonna go with Eneru, Bradley. We're gonna stick with our except for Zoro. We will
Okay.
not bend on Zoro, but we will go with the Viz translation for everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever Inaru is talking to Ganfor, it's like he's taunting him at every chance he gets. One thing he consistently brings up is the status of Kami, where he refers to him, I think, at least once, maybe twice, as the former Kami, and then like Ganfor will ask him a question and he says that's only for the Kami to know.
Yeah, he
And
leaves on that note too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like really rubbing this in. And I don't know if I have any other thoughts about the conversation outside of that, but I think it's really noteworthy.
It's the kind of conversation that going back on it once you finish the arc is really cool.
Yeah.
Just the way he talks about the Blue Sea people, the way he talks about El Dorado. He calls Ganfor naive multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
You can see their kind of rich history together and how they view each other, and also how Eneru is kind of in this conversation. He is talking about what he's about to do for the rest of the arc, but you can't understand it until you're kind of there.
Yeah. It's just like you can really tell that they talk to each other differently than they would talk to other people.
Yeah.
So there's one thing to point out, I think, in this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Is that so they're staying on the boat and they're talking about why this conflict is happening, and Eneru is very much like they're all here for the same reason. They're for El Dorado, the city of gold, and it's kind of unjustified just to say that they're doing it for just that reason.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone has their own different reasons for going after that. Whereas Chandanians are trying to reclaim their homeland. The pirates, Star Hats, are actually there to get gold because they're pirates. And Neru has his own thing that hasn't been discussed yet. But like he is pretty much trying to make it very black and white as to why everyone is here and trying to say that they're all kind of the same.
Good point. Eneru's categorization of kind of people and their intents and goals will come back later. But it's also interesting how Ganfor doesn't even know about the gold. So it's like we're all here for this material thing, and Ganfor is like, "No, I'm not. I don't know what you're even talking about."
Yeah, it also
immediately shutting this boy down.
It also goes back to like that perspective thing Ganfor was talking about very early on. When we were reading this, how like it's a matter of perspective, how you look on things. Mm-hmm. Everyone's coming to this place in a different perspective, and it's all coming to conflict.
It's safe to say you know what Eneru's power is by now, yes?
Not by this chapter, but...
Well, Bradley, did you know what Eneru's power was at this point?
No, not by now.
Okay.
I think we find out like in the very last chapter of this volume.
Moving on then.
Yeah. From there, we move to Luffy versus Wiper. And...
Pirate Luffy versus Wiper, and we don't even get to it until halfway through this chapter.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd bring that up, but yeah.
It's just a cool fight. I like the Kamehameha that this bazooka shoots out.
Yeah, mm-hmm. The bazooka's dope. Wapple's looking good.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I actually have a sticky on this question corner.
Yeah, let's do it.
First of all, Oda really enjoyed this question this person asked about what the 7 warlords of the sea are inspired by. He's like, oh my god, a serious question where it's not just someone asking if I'll do a flip or some shit.
Yeah. What birthday is everyone's birthday?
Yeah. The reason I really enjoyed this is because this particular question corner is really tied into the themes of what the story is discussing right now, where basically Oda kind of gives us the short history lesson of what these privateers were, that they were like, these government sanctioned pirates, just like the 7 warlords of the sea. And, they actually were very helpful to some of these countries in old times. Basically, they would have free reign to raid villages as long as like they would also help fight off foreign countries. And he's kind of saying for a lot of people they were heroes, but for other people they were criminals. And sometimes it's like word for word he says sometimes even the most dastardly of crimes can sometimes be mistaken for justice, and
Goddamn.
like people like I think Ganfor said something almost word for word like that in the story several chapters ago.
You're going to want to remember that literally word for the future as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really cool how the question corner like coincided with the story right now.
I think it's funny you bring that up because recently we had some developments on the Seven Warlords in the recent chapters of One Piece. So
yeah,
but yeah.
Oda,
But anyway,
Oda always planning.
marrying Miss Universe. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. I this is the one. So we saw him smiling at his new factory before, and I could conceivably believe that, oh, maybe Wapple's just really happy to be out of the gutter. This is the one where I'm like, no, he's gonna crash and burn.
That one was a wholesome smile. This one's a naughty smile.
Yeah, this is like a oh ho ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, I was like, no, this is not gonna end well.
We're Genbo versus Heavenly Warriors Commander Yama.
Yeah. So as we go forward, we go into more fights with oh, this is Yama. He's a big boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and so right before Robin versus Yama, we see her looking at this, what do you call it, relic? I don't know.
Ruin.
Yeah, ruin.
Yeah, a ruin. And
boy.
we're kind of tying. I don't even know if tying it in. We're like referencing the fact that this could be relevant to the world at large in One Piece, because we know outside of what the characters are doing now, obviously there are bigger things happening on the world stage. And I think I don't know if this is the first mention of the 100-year gap in the history of the world. Maybe she mentioned it back in Alabasta.
Boy.
In her flashback in Alabasta.
Yeah.
Did she mention it by name? Because this feels like
she mentioned it by name, but she mentions the missing history.
We're into some of the deepest lore right now, which is exciting.
As you continue forward in One Piece, you're eventually going to start hitting places where Willer and I don't even fucking know what's happening or what that.
Exciting. This 800 years is a number that you might see from time to time. So it's interesting. I actually have to do a double take. I did not remember that this arc mentioned that, but these ruins seem very important and historical.
No, I think this actually might be the first time where this lore thread gets actually kind of has a more solid idea of what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just really cool that in One Piece, while we're always kind of doing these, chapter to chapter, arc to arc, battles and interactions, Oda's also taking the time to, take a step by step in this long game that his galaxy brain is cooking up.
So that's the other kind of great useful thing that Robin has to the crew in terms of writing in Oda, is that you have someone that you can reasonably use as a speaking device for you and how the world works. And what the history of that world is. And it's awesome, because now we have someone that we can reliably fall back to whenever we kind of want an explanation or a more insight to development now. Yeah,
it's like a more reasonable vehicle to dump information about the world on us than
every other you run into
find a note on the ground that says this.
Yeah. And it's just also kind of it like you said when we first met Robin, spices up the variety of the crew and what they're do.
She is spicy.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about Hattori's brothers? Because we shouldn't. These guys suck.
I hate them.
I hate them.
I like Nami and Genfor, I guess.
Yeah, I did love. I put a sticky on this. I actually retroactively went back and put a sticky on one of these panels after I saw a little bit of Chopper's fight later, because both Nami and Chopper get to do some fighting this arc, and they both kind of share the same sentiment, even though they're very far apart, where they both say how kind of tired they are or how guilty they feel of everyone protecting them lately. how they want to feel like they're pulling their weight and that they are also able to fight. And I don't know, I just really like that because I don't know, I like these characters and I like seeing them grow.
It's fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
This motherfucker.
Gadots is not functionally correct as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always sucks on his bottom lip too.
Yeah. He's a goofy goober.
Then we're gonna go forward a little bit. I think we have to do our usual passing checkup on King Wapple.
Yep, of course.
This man is
full out.
This man is King Wapple sets his sight on the world, is what it says at the bottom.
Notably, he has a different wife this time.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it is.
I'm pretty sure she had like dark hair.
Holy shit. So this next chapter, man, I've been loving Skypeia because we get a lot more Chopper than we got.
Chopper's great this arc, huh? We didn't talk about it when the death battle starts and he's just running, freaking out. Those are some very funny pages.
Yeah.
You glance over a spot where like he's acting like he's a blind rodent or something and walks right past this guy. He's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And he like the first half of this chapter is mostly him like evading and running away, but he eventually kind of gets that resolve where he says, I always run away, everyone's always bailing me out, and he's like, that's why nobody relies on me. It's time I stepped up and I raised the pirate's flag, and we know what the pirate's flag means to Chopper.
Yeah.
Like this whole segment where he's saying this stuff in his head like gave me goosebumps.
On like a fight choreography level, you gotta appreciate how well paced this is. Like the actual combat starts like almost halfway through, but you see so many attacks from both sides where like I think notably Chopper's quick forms changing, like notably like when he goes heavy mode to dodge like a mid-air attack by just shifting his sense of gravity, and just overall how cool jet punches always are, like always cool moves. Very, very fun showing for our boy, and I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, and I was happy to see Chopper, get like the cool finishing move because like we've always known he can fight. We saw him fight during Drum Island, and he was relatively good at it. We don't see him fight often because he kind of has that cowardly side to him, but we see that when he's able to work past it, that monster is in there, and he calls himself a monster, which I thought was badass. He's like, I'm a monster.
Yeah, I'm strong. Yo, yeah.
It was badass.
This final shot of like the Cloven Cross, it's really, really good page.
Oh yeah.
I really like that this whole fight was one chapter.
Perfectly paced, man. Oda's on it.
I think I mentioned this before to Willer, but like part of the reason probably that Chopper's so skitterish and runs away is because he's actually a deer. So still that kind of like animal instinct kicking in.
Yeah, this was kind of mind blowing because I never thought of that side of him.
Yeah. All right.
Where we going, Bradley? Where we dropping?
Before we start the next chapter, I wanted to point out that Oda included 2 coloring pages in this volume because I saw this coloring page and I thought it was really cool because he used to do like 1 coloring page per volume, and then he went like a long time, like borderline 10 volumes without me remembering there being a coloring page. And then someone in the question corner was like, Oda, that was like my favorite thing. I really wish you would include more coloring pages. And he's like, I will try to do better. And then in the next volume, now we had 2 coloring pages.
Yeah, I think he stopped doing it because the SBS took up that volume space. But that's really cute. That's
like some Mr. Rogers shit where someone would write in and
well, this is Japanese Mr. Rogers, except he's really pervy.
Yeah, it's true.
I just I don't know. I thought it was really sweet of Oda that now he does these coloring pages because the person was like, Oda, I love coloring.
The thing is, like, One Piece's biggest fan in the entire world is Oda himself. Yeah. So when someone's like, I like this about your thing, can you do more of it? It's like, absolutely. Like he's more than happy. Like Oda's always excited to do more One Piece. Like it's crazy. So I think for him, like seeing a fan that like really likes it, enjoys like the world as much as he does, he just wants to give back. But anyways, Chopper's a pirate now.
Yeah, he says this very first panel in this chapter. He says, "At last, now I'm a real pirate," and I wanted to talk about this because I think we talked about this a lot more back in earlier volumes and sparingly along the way, where everyone in this story kind of has different ideas on what the idea of a pirate is, like what a real pirate is or should be. You know, there are the pirates like the pirate should be strong, or the pirate should be rich, or the pirate should dream, or the pirate should not dream. They should be practical. Like, there's all these different ideas, and Chopper says, "Now I'm a real pirate," and I want to know if what specific element of this battle made him believe he is now a real pirate, and whether he got that belief from Luffy.
I'm gonna say, if I may, if you look back, his first forming of an idea of a pirate is with Dr. Hireluck, where basically Dr. Hireluck was all about waving the flag of defiance, where you say nothing's impossible. And I feel like that defiant spirit was kind of chambered or channeled in this fight, where he got over like his fears and he just went for it and he succeeded by himself. Yeah. And I feel like he really feels like he's living up to that badass defiant spirit that Hireluck had.
I think it's very much like believing in yourself that you can do what you want to do. And I think for Chopper, like him overcoming this combat like insecurity of his is something that he like feels like he needed to do in order to become a pirate. So like I think the big part of it is being able to believe in himself and that he can accomplish his dreams. And like part of that is through this combat and beating I forget what this guy's name. But the Gots. Gadots. It's just more of it's him finding the power within himself to do what he can do.
Yeah. I just love how how efficiently Oda manages all of his characters and their development over such a long story, because like from this one line we were able to think back to like Chopper's past and his origins and think, what is going to make him say this? What is going to make him say, now I'm a real pirate? And I don't know, Oda's just so good at setting this up and like showing our characters organically get to these points that we can have these discussions. And
I'm super glad you brought this up, and I asked that anyone listening on any platform, you can also email us at roundaboutcast@gmail.com or theroundaboutcast@gmail.com. What is your take on Chopper? What Chopper says here? I want to see if we can get some spicy takes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of right answers. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
If you don't have spicy takes, we also take mild takes, or kind of like, pretty bland ones too.
I'll take a sweet take as well.
Sweet takes are also great.
Bradley,
like sweet takes, but
take us to the next.
This is like I just thought it was really cool how Kami is like telling these guys like, no, go ahead and attack me, and I'm like, oh, that's the thing that every badass guy says. And he's like, no, really, attack me, I'm not gonna budge an inch. And I was like, oh, well, you're just gonna counter their attacks. And then he's like, no, I won't counter your attacks. He's like, I will not lift a finger. And I was like, he's really confident they're not gonna be able to hurt him. And then later we're gonna see why, but I was like, holy shit, this guy must be powerful AF.
Oda likes echoing certain things in different contexts. In this case, he's echoing Crocodile letting Luffy fight him for 3 minutes.
Ooh.
To show that Logia kind of pride and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the exact same scenario here, but even longer.
Yeah, it's like, obviously, I think I've only seen 2 Logia fruits, maybe 3.
3. Smoker, Ace,
yeah.
Crocodile, and Eneru, so 4.
Yeah, and it's like they make you, generally of the ones I've seen, they give you almost like an untouchableness. And I think that seeps into the personality of whoever's going to get these fruits.
Definitely.
I put a sticky note on Nami fighting one of these ball boys but I don't really know why. I hate them.
I'm just glad that Nami is she gets a quick little fight here. She doesn't always get a fight. I like the climb attack typhoon move.
Yeah,
Boomerang.
I guess I just thought the dials were cool. You know what? I think that was the point where I was like, okay. I messaged them on Discord and I was like, you remember when Araki ditched Hamon for stands? Like, I was like, forget devil fruits. We're just doing dials from now
We
on.
dials now, boy.
The gum dial.
Stenno Tsukai. I do like how she finishes them off with an impact dial, then she's just like writhing in pain.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit this volume with my good story dial so I can bring it out later.
Ayo.
No. Oh, I have another sticky. Well, I'm lying. It's not a sticky. I ran out of sticky notes because there were so many fucking good things that I had to just start like getting like pieces of paper and tearing it and putting it in the.
Please send Bradley your sticky notes. If you
Send me your sticky notes.
We have a PO box that will be in the description box.
Do we really have a PO box?
Guys, how do I get a PO box?
I put a sticky on this question corner just because like I think Oda has his questions to some things in the question corner. He's very in character, which is weird to say because he's being himself. He's like in character as himself, which is goofy.
He's playing himself up.
Yeah, but he also has like, I think, very mature answers. Mm-hmm. And like what this one person says this one reader said they were kind of upset because One Piece always talks about like manliness and man's dreams, and he's like, no, I'm using manly as an adjective. Even the most feminine woman is going to have manly sides to her. And I don't know, I just thought that was like a really beautiful way to say that.
I think like it's not spoiling too much, but like the Okama thing, like with Mr. 2 comes up much later. I think and it's very indicative of like
we meet other Okamas and it's very clear that Oda is like, nah, the point is anyone can be manly. I will say Oda is not the best at making women as fierce and manly as the men. Well, he goes about it in a different way to a degree, because then you start getting these really badass women, but they're definitely fewer than the men.
Yeah.
And part of that's also like just the way he draws women is the same.
He is definitely a tits man.
Yeah.
Let's throw that out there.
I like band of dudes.
And the other question I liked in this question corner, and this is the one where I was like, he's being goofy, he's being in character, but also kind of giving an actual answer, where this person says in their high school admissions interview, for the question, who do you most respect, they want to answer Luffy, and he's like, my parents say that this might be a little too silly, I'd make a fool of myself. And Oda's answer is like, what? But come on, mom and dad, you think admiring Luffy makes someone a fool? And then he's like, well, I mean, yeah, that may be. Obviously, he wants to play up his dude. He's like, what? No, Luffy's awesome.
He's the coolest.
He's also kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, it is kind of silly.
He's also a kid's cartoon character, so.
Yeah, it's just like a way to say it's silly without saying like your parents are right, you're a fool.
Yeah. That's.
Riley, I hope you have a sticky note on this first page.
I did have a sticky note on this first page. Why did I put a sticky note on this page?
You were talking about mantra.
Yeah, like, okay, holy shit. This is where we actually get mantra. Like, is this where we actually get mantra described?
Possibly, but we definitely get to see how Aiza reacts to the horror of these voices fading.
Yeah, she has she's very gifted with mantra, like more than the average person.
I'd say she's the second most gifted in this arc, really.
Yeah. I wonder if she's gonna be Kami someday.
That's next arc, man.
There you go.
Just like how Gru dies next arc.
Right, always.
I think it's cool to contrast like how horrifying this experience is to her, while Kami's like, yep, another blip has gone out. That's cool.
Yeah.
The innocence.
It's
say other than like this little girl being able to at all times sense like this conflict and people hurting each other and disappearing is like, get this girl a cookie, somebody. Like, holy shit.
So thoughtful of Bradley with his
Yeah,
cookies.
cookies make everything better. Everyone knows this.
Yo, Robin combat.
Yeah, and this,
Yeah.
what we were talking about earlier, like she's even pulling out some moves that we haven't seen her do before, but it's this, she's not really suited to this kind of opponent. And the really cool thing about this fight is oh wait, do I have to wait to see her say the cool thing about this fight?
Yes.
Okay.
I will not forgive you for thinking it was now.
Okay. So we do cut back to Ineru, who was not harmed by these men attacking him. Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. This is okay. Everyone forget everything except for the past 30 seconds. So
Done.
I did a sticky note here because what Robin is concerned about when Yama is here is not necessarily her or the fact that she's not going to be able to help the others get the gold. She wants to protect these ruins. And like that just shows that like I didn't suspect she was ever putting on a front, but this like confirms that she isn't putting on a front for the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Like she genuinely cares more about like this archaeology and history more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I just think it's cool.
It will definitely, I think it's worth noting, like near the end of the fight, it really comes back.
Yeah. So we go back to the Kami, who we see him get impaled in the head, and I'm like, how the fuck is this guy alive? And then he says this line about lightning, and this is the point where at this point they don't explicitly say it's a Logia fruit, but I was like, it's gotta be, right?
I mean, following the rule that his body is not affected because he's turning it into lightning, you can assume based on our 3 categories that it's a Logia.
And I'm just like, we immediately think back to like, man, this is a lot like the fucking final boss of the previous saga of One Piece.
Yeah.
So if we weren't already scared of this guy, he has the same type of devil fruit, and like lightning is an immediately threatening thing.
I'm just gonna say it. This is top 5 Logias. Like lightning is so immediately deadly, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And like while One Piece isn't always like just who has the best power, it's more like who Oda wants to be cooler because it's all fights of willpower at the end. Just on a power by power basis, Eneru is fucking busted.
Yeah, and so powerful that in trying to take out these 2 guys, he accidentally takes out like 20 more people that are very far away.
If that's not a tone setter, and like this also explains how he's zapping around everywhere and one-shotting Sanji and Usopp and people.
Yeah, because I was like, man, he left scorched bodies earlier. It's like, what the fuck can this guy do? And like honestly, I'm like, how the fuck are we gonna beat this guy? My only hope is like maybe Luffy's immune to electric types. I don't know.
Yeah, you know how Pokemon goes.
But holy shit, man! It was just that like I don't know. Like you said, it's such a good tone setter. And then we kind of turn a page or two, and at the beginning of this volume, when we were setting up all these fights that happen over the course of it, we're like, here's the exact count of people that are going to be fighting. Here's how long it's going to last, and here's how many we expect to have left at the end. And we kind of bookmark this volume at the end of it by giving the progress update. It's like, here's how many are left, here's how much time has passed, and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wait, you stopped on this chapter? I've been talking about the end of Robin's fight, and you're like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. I read this volume. Also, everyone buy Nura Rise of the Yokai Clan.
No, haven't even heard of that one.
Mm-hmm. Also, Luffy found treasure. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what... Luffy's in like a weird cave. I wonder what's going on.
This manga is called Who's Got the Cure for the Monster Flu?
Well?
From Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball, Dr.
What?
and Sandland.
What?
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 Yeah, that's what I said. I'm looking through the manga they recommend you at the end of the
What,
volume. And
monster flu?
Akira Toriyama. Who's got the cure for the monster flu from Akira Toriyama? Huh.
The problem being it's flu season, so it's hard to look this up.
Oh yeah, I'm at
All right, we're done with One Piece.